the delay
This is
on, or is it pretty
no.
good?
No. This is pretty good.
This is fine. This is fine. Good. Good. 2026, we made it. We didn't quite hit the target of 200, the 200th by the end of 2025. We got pretty close. 190. I'm content with that. Although I guess technically 190.
Yeah, well, I'm not.
Well, I figured, you got to have two sides to the story. So, fair.
Well, because we were trying to hit the goal of 200, so that when we hit that 200, we could have the special episode.
Well, we can still do that, can't we? I mean,
When
we're
we get
not
to
yet.
200, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about this special episode except for it being number 200. So, I mean, like you made it sound like when you
We
hinted
were
at
going to
it.
bring on guests.
I know, but you didn't tell me who the guest is going to be. Or did we?
We talked about it when we were in.
Yeah, I know, but that's so long ago now. The momentum has died. The momentum. I'm sorry. I'm such a.
I'll slip you a note.
Yes, please.
And then you could be like, "Oh, yeah."
So let's figure out which side of the screen this is coming. So I'm going to go this way. I'm going to go start on this side, right? So like 2025, I think started out like here, and then it kind of followed like the shape of my headphones, right? It was like this, and then it still followed the shape of the headphones, and then it went down like this. And I'm not talking about just my energy. I'm talking about all kinds of things in the world. And I'm not going to get. Look at the arc. It's like it's the opposite of a hockey stick curve. It's the cliff of doom, right? Like Mordor or something.
Well, I mean, I thought when you said arc, I thought you were going to say it was the Ark of the Covenant, and like that part in Indiana Jones where they open it up and then people's faces get all melted.
You got to close. Yeah, well, yeah. I guess I opened my eyes.
Don't
and
look.
My face.
Yeah.
So now we're 2026.
That was a terrifying. That was a when I was a child.
Oh, it scared me. It scared me pretty good. And if you look back at it, it was so campy. But it's not super campy. But
yeah,
it was scary.
But enough. Yeah, I mean it was. Yeah,
but
not Poltergeist scary, but it was scary.
No, yeah. That's a whole other level. Yeah, these planes, another terrace of scare. Are you like the horror stuff? Are you? I don't know. We talked about genres.
Not really. No, not a big horror kind of guy.
I kind of do now.
I mean, occasionally occasionally.
Yeah, Danielle's a hard pass.
So what about Stranger Things? Did you watch Stranger Things?
I haven't yet because I thought I was going to watch it with Danielle and she hard passed that too. And I didn't really think that's horror, but I guess it's too creepy.
Well, see, that was the thing is I thought it was a little bit horror. So I was like, I'm not sure I want to watch this. And so I missed it, when it was sort of running and I felt really behind until like this year. Like for some reason, someone was telling me about their excitement about this sort of last season. And I was like, give me like a synopsis where you don't ruin it for me. Like, give me your kind of pitch for like why I should watch this.
Where you don't ruin it.
And then as they're giving me this pitch, I'm like, why did I skip this? So during the holidays, I have been watching Stranger Things to catch up.
Oh, good. I'm going to watch the new one.
and it's good.
I'm going to be watching it by myself.
I'm late to the party, but it's good.
I like it. I'm looking forward to the final season. I guess I'll just, like I said, be watching it alone. What I was just gonna say, what would off the camera, we were talking about the week between this week we're in between Christmas. Well, I guess we've made it to the end of the Christmas, New Year. What did you call it again? The forgotten week.
This is the forgotten week.
So that's your Stranger Things forgotten week. It should be a new. I like the idea, and it should be a new milestone to plan for every year, right? So, like, this is our New Year's episode, so we can talk about our resolutions, but also look forward to
what we did during the forgotten week.
The forgotten week, yeah. I like that. I kind of wonder. I can see through Instagram what some of my students have been doing at their forgotten week, and it's lots of celebrating.
Are you cyber stalking the students?
No, they follow. We're following. I don't stalk. They follow me, and then I follow them back.
Oh,
I mean, if they follow me, I figure like, hey, I'll follow you back. Keep. I don't say anything. I don't judge.
I enjoy a cyber.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, I think we'll see when we come back from the break if they're still on my side, because it was
no more comments about the forgotten week. So
right.
No, so just to put a bow on the forgotten week, I heard a creative. I forget what genre of creative they were. Maybe I feel like they were like an illustrator, but they were talking about that during this week between, effectively like Christmas and New Year's, sort of that last week of December, that sort of first week of January business. They're like, there's this week that effectively no one's in the office. It's like out of office replies. People are on vacation. No one's answering the phones. No one's making requests for things. So you have this moment. And as a creative, like I will say that I've sort of leaned into this, is that you kind of get to do whatever you want. And in that kind of getting to do what you want, you find that there's this opportunity to really kind of push your creative bounds a little bit. Or if you got work to catch up on, there's that. Or there's sort of like maybe a show you want to catch up on. So there's a bunch of things that kind of fit into that week kind of handily. I might have been sketching a lot and just not posting it. I actually held back during this week, that I was like allowing myself to be kind of in a zone. And so I'm thinking maybe by this weekend I might be like, that's my sound effect of
that's like sound effect
multiple posts.
Sketch dump, as they say, I think.
Yes, it's a sketch dump. Exactly. Not a dumpster fire.
No,
but a sketch dump.
I like that idea. Yeah. Bottle up the creativity, or hold on to it for a little bit. I used the there was a bit of both for me, catch up on things. Like for me, in practice, right? The once the semester is over and you head into this winter break, then the contractors and the clients kind of give up on calling. For usually good reasons, right? They're also taking their time off, but they also don't press as hard because like the building departments aren't really going to be open, and inspections aren't really going to happen. So like they kind of, it's a kind of an unwritten rule, and I get to, the mental bandwidth that school and client work take up can be a little bit overwhelming for me, which will lead to my resolution word that we'll talk about later. But
isn't that also tied to your diagram of your
headphone? Yeah. like just follow the head. Yeah. I should
Yep.
draw. We should
Got it.
draw that. I'm going to draw that. And actually, it'd be fun. We should make our friend Eric draw that. He's been active. Have you seen all his cool watercolors?
Oh yeah.
But anyway, before I go
he's
way
been,
off
like,
on
watching movies and like
that, I know it's been kind of fun. They're all movie snippets. It's kind of like he's court reporting on movies.
that he would like that. I mean, when he hears that in the episode, I think he's going to dig it. Court reporting on the movies.
I love it. So
It's
anyway,
like a genre of sketch.
So
please describe your sketches to me. Oh, it's like court reporting movies.
Well, I like that's cool. I sometimes get it right. So before I get off too far off topic, I used my week, this forgotten week, to tidy up like paperwork and things that needed to be done for non-design related stuff. But then I also did spend some time doing some design thinking and maybe even some sort of software workflow like trying to figure out a little bit cleaner, better way to do some drawings and things, and so there's a little bit of that, and I've got to wrap up the edit of our last episode, so there's that as well. But we're not at our words of the year yet, so I'll wait. But sometimes the forgotten week is like, for me, the sort of the respite. It's like I kind of look forward to it in a way most years. The quiet, downtime. Downtime for me isn't necessarily do no work. It's just more like on my
it's time
terms.
for you to shuffle paper and staple. Like stapling. It's your quiet week is a lot of stapling.
Well, there, when it's in PDF form, I guess you miss out on the staples. But it's what was I say? It's on my terms, I suppose, right? So I get to, I work, but I'm not like under a deadline or something. Some years I am. But anyway, nobody cares. We'll move on.
Kurt, your life is always on your terms.
Oh. Is that so?
I'm just saying. That's me imparting my encouragement to you.
I like that.
This forgotten week. Yeah.
I will remember that.
Like, drink water from your sippy cup, or what is that?
You like it? It's the most bright pink water bottle. And hydration. Did I forget to mention that it's only like 12 degrees today? It's very cold.
Well, so if it's 12 degrees, then you should be drinking.
Yeah. Well,
some coffee.
I got mug.
Okay.
I got mug, but even when it's cold,
it's going to be 80 something degrees.
Is that Cousin Eddie's eggnog there?
It is eggnog.
Cousin Eddie's eggnog from Christmas Vacation.
I don't remember Cousin Eddie.
The Griswolds.
Christmas Vacation, but
the Griswolds.
I know the Griswolds and I know the movie, but I don't remember. Yeah.
Well, I guess it's not technically okay.
Eddie's eggnog.
So you got to come visit during the holidays, during a forgotten week, one of these years. You come up, and my favorite little watering hole, the Market Tap here in Flint, they make a a whiskey based eggnog drink they call Cousin Eddie's eggnog.
Oh, there's whiskey in this. Yeah, there's whiskey in this. Yeah.
That's what I thought. So yeah. So sorry, it's not referenced in the movie that way, but it's made here by the Market Tap as a reference to the movie. So
okay, so Market Tap, do they go in? This is a sort of a thing here in Austin because it's Austin, Texas, right? And I'm sure this happens in other places, but here, it's Austin. We'll just leave it there. And you can just, say what you want about it. But there are multiple bars that theme themselves into Christmas, like significantly. Like they'll do like a full overhaul of their interior into like Christmas themes. Yeah. There's one bar that turns into Moe's from The Simpsons every year during Halloween. That's different. So like they've changed the outside of the building and the inside into Moe's. Yeah. It is a lot of work. There's a lot of creative people who probably are thinking about a lot of stuff during Forgotten Week and then executing it at different holidays of the year related to their establishments. But so in Austin, there was one bar that was Christmas all year round. Their Christmas decorations don't come down. Like it's a dive bar, and it's Christmas 365. But recently, there's been several bars that all sort of do this. Is this just an Austin thing, or is this something that happens in where you are?
I'm going to say, I mean, I don't really go to too many different places anymore. I go to like two bars locally here, and so I'm going to say it's like a competition.
And neither one of them does this. Okay.
No, they don't. Yeah, they don't really go crazy. Now there was a place in Port Huron out here. It's called the Brass Rail, and during Christmas, and it's really small. It's a really cool little dive bar, and they had like, I think they bragged that they had like 50,000 Christmas lights inside the bar, and all kinds of ornaments and trees and stuff like that. And when you walked in, it was like 1,000 degrees because of all the electricity that was. It was way warm inside, and then they had this special, and I don't know if they do it seasonally or if they do it like a year-round thing, like you were talking about, but they have this meringue type drink that basically they put. It's either, you could probably do coffee, water, or not water, coffee, hot chocolate, and like whiskey or bourbon with this homemade, whipped meringue, right? So it's like the foam on top. That's super sweet. But it was pretty good for a winter, a nice winter warm up.
Yeah, I mean, when you started talking about the meringue, you had my full attention. So yes, sounds.
I'm glad. See, these are other reasons that you need to brave the cold and spend a Forgotten Week up here. Oh, you're a Canadian, so I mean, it's not that you're unfamiliar.
I'm Canadian. It's just more about the clothing, right? It's like I try not to go to cold places. I mean, it's just so I don't have clothes for cold places. Like I have some clothes for cold places, but not for like extended stays in cold places. Like, a whole week would be a lot, right? I mean, so yeah, it's the clothing. It's always the clothing. But
I got a closet full of stuff, like this.
I'm wearing this heavy sweatshirt. I'm not saying Yeah, I'm not saying that the themed bar thing is like, I'm not into that. Like, it's just, I'm not, but,
Yeah, I'm not normally either,
but
but this place had it like a bit of authenticity in that it was. It seemed like every year there was a new strand of lights, which then
well, yeah, I mean,
accretion.
yeah, I mean that you kind of like you can appreciate, right? That there's some intentionality to they love it clearly, and they're not doing it as a gimmick. They're kind of into it, and when they're kind of into it, then you can kind of be into it a little bit, right? But if it's a gimmick, you kind of see right through that. Lasers, see.
Yeah, gimmicky stuff. Yeah, because if it's cheap looking, then it's. I mean, that's I guess a subjective. There's many subjective ways to analyze, but yeah.
I think you had me at the meringue, is what I'm saying.
Meringue.
So
Oh man. Well, do we need to talk about? uh Yeah. Cheers. But well, so now let me. We have a couple of images, I'll call them, to share, and we can talk about a bit. Yours is, I think, a little bit of a recap, right? Because it kind of looks back over the year, and what I post. So we have side by side, some stuff that we just posted. I created a little bit of a mid-journey Happy New Year fireworks, based on this sort of, I guess, the training of the model. I guess for me, I don't really know how to describe it, but I'm sort of building a particular. I don't want to use the word style, but curating a bit of a palette. And so this is the Happy New Year uh, rendering, I guess, that I created, which I mean, I think it's kind of neat looking. It's got it's got some fireworks, and it's got some buildings and landscape and abstraction, and But anyway, we could talk. Yeah, I'm curious to see what your take is on my rendering, and then on your side of the screen, we've got some familiar faces and some kind of span of time. Sort of. I assume this is your highlights, your greatest hits of the year. What would you say?
yeah, so yeah, I think so. Instagram kind of was an Instagram early adopter, and so some of the things that are fading a bit from it, but at the same time, something I always enjoy at the end of the year is the top 9. So you do the top 9, and it sort of tells you what your top 9 interacted with images are, for the year, and it sort of spits it out, puts it in a grid. The grid actually doesn't have anything to do with like how interacted with it is. It's just these happen to be the top 9. Um, and so there's been sort of an algorithm that's done that, for several years. So always around this forgotten week, I always sort of try and dip into that as sort of a way to kind of look back at the year. 2025, like you were describing it as we kind of got into this, has been quite a year, to remember a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff you just kind of want to forget, and a lot of stuff in between. So all that to say is, knowing we were getting ready to record our annual, kind of, let's kick off season 8. Welcome to season 8, folks. Season 8, episode 1 of season 8, which is actually going to be our episode 191, which is kind of awesome. But with that, Kurt and I always sort of talk about kind of a little bit of kind of, recapping the year before, kind of where we are right now, but also sort of looking ahead, and sort of thinking about, some goals that we might have, call them resolutions, call them words. We've sort of, settled on this kind of idea of trying to find a word to kind of capsulate where we think we're headed, for the year, or something along those lines. So yeah, this 9 grid, when it popped up, the first thing it made me think of was, what the hell was my word for this year? And
Oh,
because I really felt like if I thought it was the word that I thought it was, like, because it's been a year, so it's been, there was a part where I was on track with the word, and it was like I'm thinking about it, and then some shit happened, and I kind of went off track, a little bit,
uh-huh.
but
Right.
it totally, this grid of stuff totally fits. It
Yeah.
actually fits totally with that word for me
Oh, good.
in so many ways. And 2025, ironically or fittingly, also fits with that word in so many ways.
Kintsugi, you right? You remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
Yeah, that's great.
finding beauty in the brokenness of things,
Hmm.
um, and finding ways to kind of put it all together. And, you know, yeah, that was my 2025. Probably that was a lot of people's 2025s.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's the
it
arc that I was
right. But yeah, I think it's and normally when I post my grid, I don't type anything. I just put the date, coffee sketch, top 9, and that's it. Maybe another hashtag or something like that. But this time I really felt compelled to kind of write something, because it just, in that moment of sort of seeing it, thinking about that word, thinking about the appropriateness of that word to describe a whole year for me. Um, yeah, it really fit. There was a lot of things that um, were really kind of broken, that, and maybe even are, I mean, nothing's ever perfect, right? But finding ways to kind of work to put some of that stuff back together, and then some unexpected broken things happened too, and trying to find the beauty in those moments, after kind of getting past some of the hard parts of it.
hmm.
So yeah, it was quite a year. um
Yeah. I mean, obviously we talked about a lot of these things over the course, and I forgot about the top 9. I don't know why. I should have remembered that. And maybe I'll try and, because it's not within Instagram itself, right? You got to go outside of Instagram, right, to do it.
yeah.
I'm going to sound like I'm going to sort of out myself as a Luddite. Weirdly enough. Yeah. So I'll go give that a try. But yeah, the kintsugi, and I hope, which will be interesting when we segue into talking about next year's or this year's new words and things. Um, there might be a bridge to the new word. I would maybe guess, but so so it's great to see the the things that sort of bubbled up to the top 9, and the people. I think people is probably the kind of the core of it, right? Having the
Yeah,
people.
yeah, so many years of my 9 are, 7 or 8 sketches, right? Or 7 or 8 sort of black and white photos of buildings and sketches, and a mix of in between. And sometimes a photo or two with people. But this year, there's the sketches that are in there. Actually, a photo that, ironically, actually it's Kurt's photo.
Yeah.
In the
So
upper
good.
right. Um,
I know
of
that's funny.
of our coffee sketch cocktail napkin, us sort of plotting and scheming, for our coffee sketch meetup that we did for the AI convention. But I think that, the other parts of it is, I mean, my daughter graduated college. Um, One of my closest friends passed away. And, my friends that were very close, um, found ourselves, making a lot of trips to be even closer to one another, during that time. And then at the end of the year, aside from my daughter's graduation, I also was, recognized by the College of Architecture at A&M as an outstanding alumni, which was, an amazing, humbling honor that I'm still kind of wrapping my head around. Um, and my parents were able to be there. My mentors were able to be there. My friends were there. Not all of them. Hint, hint. Were there. Some of them were just on the screen because they had a video that Sterling recorded, which was a pretty touching tribute. Um, as M put it, Dad was crying before he hit the stage to give his speech. So I had to give remarks. But the other thing too is that, I put this in my post, with this image is that there was one other surprise that I don't even know if I told you about because we haven't really spoke about that kind of event, but it's something I'm still working on right now. But I was surprised at the event. They had I mean, the College of Architecture outdid themselves. It's a beautiful event. They do a really nice event. It's basically black tie optional, so it's a lot of pomp and circumstance. It's A&M, it's traditions, even for the architects, which normally don't kind of get into that stuff. But very, very nice event. And they have the programs on the table as one would expect, and there's sort of nice bios for all the people who've been honored, and there's all the other people reading their things. It's very humbling to be in their presence as well. There's other honorees that are at the event, so past honorees are there as well, including 2 past AI national presidents. I mean, just lots of stuff, right? And but nice program. You open up the program and there's an insert that they put in the program, and I'm trying, like, Emily's like, Dad, Jason told me to look at the insert and tell you to look at the insert. And so I was like, what? And so I look at the insert, and basically it reads that some of my friends decided that they were going to establish an endowed scholarship in my name at the college. That they were putting, they reached out to the development office and arranged for that.
Wow.
In honor of this event. Yeah.
Wow.
And so, yeah. And I mean, just beyond words, and, I've added to it as well, but it's always something that I've always wanted to do, and frankly, never felt like I was like, you never feel like you're good enough to do that, right? Or you're in a position that you can give back in that kind of way. You want to, right?
Yeah.
But that level of trust, was just, and then and it was and they told the development office, like, in no uncertain terms, they were like, Jamie gets to write the criteria, like what, however he wants to write this. And it was like that. Yeah, it's a lot. And so I've been working with them to kind of get that, taken care of.
Great.
But,
well, that's
so
probably,
more on that later. Yeah.
Thanks for the surprise, because now it's a much more interesting topic than just the Midjourney prompt that I create. Yeah, that's a
No,
great
well, I
highlight
mean,
to the year.
it's I think it's but well, but I love the fact that you put these two together today. I think it's indicative of a year that we've had, right? Both of us, all a lot of us, listeners as well, and then also sort of the year ahead, right? And I think that that's what I like about the image that you made. You asked me sort of what my thoughts were, and I think it's just uh, it. There's a serenity to what you've made that is also exciting and hopeful, and there's a vibrancy to it, but it's subtle. Um, and it feels crafted, right? Like I think however my feelings of AI, your feelings of AI, our skepticism of it all. I think that there's a craft piece to this that you know it when you see it,
Oh, thanks.
and
Yeah.
and kind of trying to find that is really important.
I think. Well, I appreciate. Yeah, those are, I think, good traits or attributes of the the image output. Um, the serenity and the optimism and some of the craft or you know abstracted nature of it, which I was drawn to in as it was sort of evolving or emerging and developing. So yeah, that's what I thought. We did a whole bunch right in October with, well, I did a whole bunch of these kinds of um, our Inktober drawings, using AI, and while you and Eric were doing analog traditional sketching, um, and so that, but then I kind of put that to rest for the most part of the rest of the year until now, and I do want to try and mix the media in, sort of fold it in with some stuff in the coming year, so it's not just uh, purely generated, I suppose, and sort of has a little bit more of the hand, which I'm finding interesting. Um, Again, kind of using the downtime between semesters to kind of step back and look at uh, things that we did in studio with the students, and getting them to uh, develop their own skills, and then even just trying to convey the knowledge from our experience. Cormac was teaching with me again in the fall, so we kind of talk about these things and figure out, like, okay, what makes it tick, what's not making it hit, and so that's a little bit about this space between the two semesters, is like thinking about how to move forward, right, with adoption or integration of these sort of new tools like AI and different generative tools, but then also how to uh, what's the word? I guess couch it. I guess is some might be the word, in our traditional skill set, right? Our visualization of information, and what we do in architecture, and so that's that's kind of my take on kind of wrapping up last year and then sort of moving into the new year, right? So if you remember, the word I had was agency. I believe I picked agency, which we kind of had a nice debate about last year at this time, as far as like which understanding, explanation, reference, how it's being used. But I feel like in some regard I gained a little bit. I would say not just some regard. I guess I've done enough AI work that did get noticed within the leadership, at the dean's office, to where now I'm part of the crew of a few faculty that are like AI people. So I feel that's an agency, I suppose. That is garnering agency, and I think in a positive way. And so now I guess that like I was saying, like how do we sort of reflect and then move into next semester, because I get to teach the same cohort from the fall. I'm going to teach them again in the spring semester in their sort of capstone, studio right before they finish their 4-year degree and move on to the master's. So it's the sort of pivot, and we're going to not only be working with the generative visualization AI tools, not solely, but like it's you know going to be a component for those that want to opt in. But then also, how do you craft, this a sort of persona out of, either with a language model or combination language image. So it's not just about a visual, but about you know say like an avatar of a client or a constituent or a user of a building, right? And how that could inform some of the design process. But anyway, so those are little highlights, or I guess sneak peek, because the students don't really even know. If they're listening, then they're going to know a little bit about how that's going to happen uh, next semester. So yeah, I would say it's been an interesting, like you put it, right? Like so much happened across the span of the year, and with things that were expected and unexpected, and positive and negative. And now I feel like, of all the years that we've done words, I feel like this is one of the strongest arcs from say January to December that we've had, individually and combined. You know, and I'm not trying to be funny with the arc joke, but like a story arc. The
No,
narrative
no, I would,
from.
I would agree. I mean, yeah, I would agree for sure. And I think it's interesting that I don't necessarily envy academics right now, those who are teaching, because I think um, it is sort of a bit of a lack of a better analogy. It is kind of a wild west, of how AI can be implemented in a creative or a studio type environment. I don't even want to get into how other academics are dealing with AI in terms of taking notes and you know writing papers and assessing problems and doing all those types of things, because I think that's accelerating at a completely different pace and in a different direction that is, I think, a challenge for both student and professor, and probably institution. But I think from a creative, just staying where we are and talking about your work in a studio with students, um, I think having sat in on some graduate reviews recently, both at midterm and then in the final review, um, it I think it was very evident to me, those students who were able to use the tool as an assist, and those who didn't see the opportunity of the assist to be the co-creator and to find ways to edit the work, to really accelerate a really good idea. At midterm, you find kind of the pathway for the project. You haven't done all the work on it yet, but you kind of present it, and as you're kind of having this dialogue with the folks that are there, and you're talking it through, you realize, oh, here my ideas are coalescing into these one or two different avenues, and I've got bits and pieces that are kind of talking about that, but I'm not there yet. But you know which direction to go. And I think some students were definitely able to see that. and then use that to their fullest advantage with this design assist, so that they were able to really craft those renders to really, bolster kind of the ideas that they were already generating. And then others didn't see that and kind of went down the track of just sort of iterating and letting the assist lead them down a completely different pathway with their project that maybe didn't even align with the things that they were even grappling with at midterm. And so at that point, you get this sort of hodgepodge. You still get this sort of hodgepodge of ideas at the very end that hasn't been curated completely. And, and so the idea doesn't even feel fully formed. I mean, a student project is not necessarily going to be complete at the end. It's still about process rather than product. And I think that's sort of that's the problem with AI is still generating a product, right? And so if you don't recognize that that's what it's doing, and you can leverage that to your advantage if you're staying in the process realm, because it's helping you create more iterations of things. But those who see the product go, ooh, I like what that is, and you kind of let it go that way, you kind of lose sight of the whole process that you yourself have been developing or working through in dialogue with your professor, your classmates, your client, your imaginary client, whatever, your avatar. So I think that for the first time, sort of because I got to sit in on both midterm and final for the same studio, it really gave me the opportunity to have that perspective that I hadn't necessarily had in other reviews for other studios in the past.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I'll definitely be using that, and I hope, for the students that are listening, they pay attention to what you just said about the design project of any semester is a process. It's not only about the product at the end of the semester, but about and so we try. Me and Cormac are always trying to hammer. I'm sure you noticed it too. Were you in person or virtual when you did your reviews?
Both. I was in person for it.
Oh, okay.
For both the midterm and final.
Because so when you're in person, for the pinups, I was always encouraging students to bring draft concept work, right? Like bring your study models, which they didn't really make a lot of study models, but bring old models, right? Other iterations, whatever, bring it. You don't have to talk about every single piece, but just put it on the table. The jury will see aspects of process within the unfinished or early work in the final work if it has a relevant thread that connects these things. So you don't have to pick up every little old model and point at this, that, it's just about it showing that it's there, that you didn't arrive at this solution, and then just try and backfill or what,
or like you say, bringing those models and having several of them so you can sort of see that there's been work been produced. There's always that leverage, right? I've done a lot of work. Great. Awesome. There's points for that kind of in a sense, but the bigger point is what you're trying to get at is you as a designer, if you realize I had to do all these different pieces, I had to do all this work to get to where I am right now. You're talking process there, right? And recognition of that, and then being able to communicate that, that's a superpower, right? Because now you have legitimacy about yourself as a designer in solving the problem, in presenting your concept for the idea. How did you reconcile this issue before us? And if you're a team of people, same thing, same rules apply, right? Now, if you've got those old study models and you're on a roll, and you say, one of the biggest challenges in this project was figuring out how to get people from this part of the campus to this entrance that doesn't exist right now. And over here in this earlier model, we thought we had the answer and we liked this piece of it, but it didn't solve all the other things. Great. You recognize that. You've come to that conclusion yourself. Maybe it came even out in that midterm crit. If that model's sitting on the table next to the one that's the final model, now you're able to kind of point to it or show it and say, look, this is what we picked up on. It was a good idea. And we elaborated on it and iterated on it. We changed it. We solved it relative to these other things that were also competing objectives. Now you've elevated that whole process, and that whole conversation to, you're directing it. And at the same time, you're trying to engage that reviewer, whether this is their first time seeing it, or in my case, I'd seen the earlier version. And so I'm kind of sitting at like almost like the prof and going, well, the last time we talked about it, this was the thing you were struggling with and you were hoping to solve. And I'm looking at your final and I'm like, I don't remember, what. And so then my question is, and it's fine. Maybe you did have a departure. Tell me what that departure was. Like, tell me kind of why, what happened? What did you learn? Basically, right? Because it's still a learning environment. What did you learn about your project, your process, to get to where you are? Because it's not about the product necessarily at the end, and I think AI sort of, it creates a false sense of I'm finished. Like here's my rendering, or here's my image, or here's my 3D printed model. I'm finished. It's like, are you really finished? Right. What did you learn from that? Can you replicate? Can you apply that in a future project? From a problem solving standpoint. That's certainly of more interest for me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. One of these, we'll have to try and get you hooked into some reviews up here too. I know we talked about it, and we got to work through some of that. Obviously, fall semester, cold months are out. We got to go for spring semester, warmer months for Jamie. He doesn't have the wardrobe.
Warmer months, yeah. Or Jamie has to get a coat.
So how about
mittens? I could get mittens.
Well, we're all about the mittens up here in Michigan, I'm actually I used some Christmas money to get me a new pair of mittens. I'll maybe show them off next time. But so yeah, we'll have to keep a little bit of a theme or thread going about this sort of virtual, well, I'm calling it virtual crits, because you and I are now critting things that we're not really looking at anything particularly, but we're sort of recollecting, aspects. And I find that very fruitful and useful. I'm going to try and clip these things and maybe try and, build a bit of a library of these moments that we're talking about, because I think they're useful on their as a standalone, sort of isolated from the whole episode. But anyway, so that's just table talk, I guess. Because so
that brings us to the penultimate moment here.
That's right. Words of the year. It was what I was trying to segue to.
What's your word?
Jamie. So my word.
Yeah. Here we are. Here we are.
All right. This is a.
Is this like a quarter, like a dime, nickel, quarter word? Is this like a big word?
No. I think it's a very simple word for this year. And I
Okay.
think,
Okay. Okay. That's better. Simple, better.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think for me, simple is going to be better, right? So the word, the way I guess I'm going to associate, because I'm using this word, I think, because it resonates pretty broadly, but it's self care. I'm going to do a little focus on self this year. Um, so self as a business owner, self as uh, a husband, a spouse, a dog owner. Gotta gotta watch out for the dog. So focus on a little bit more of an internal, or sort of a bring the bubble in a little bit closer, right? So that I'm not like trying to. I think that's what I've learned a little bit about during this forgotten week again, right? Is that I have this tendency to say yes to too many things, and so I'm going to try and be a little more selective and focus on self a little bit. And I don't want to sound too, uh, you know, woo woo or whatever, but just so that's it, right? It's sort of based off. Maybe it's a bit about of a rebound from 2025, but that's the idea, right? Keep it simple. So, what about you?
Well, I mean, sometimes I like I I see it like you're saying. Maybe it has a bit of that rebound from 2025, because it builds on the agency thing because you kind of wanted to be like kind of give yourself agency about a bunch of different things and sort of plugging in a couple different ways. So
Hmm.
this aligns with that, but at the same time, it's also maybe kind of a reflection on that
Hmm.
and how that kind of relates to how you've processed it. So I'm tracking. I'm tracking
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks.
on my end. I on my end, I almost want to keep the same word, but I'm not going to because that wouldn't be fair. That breaks the rules of the game. But I think it's something that I've had time to reflect about, and partly this whole idea sort of alluded to it before about um, the multiple posts of Jamie sketches, right? Is that um, and that's sort of a simplification, but I think my word is going to be create, um, and it's I need to think like a creator, and kind of give myself the confidence, like when I'm not thinking that I'm able to create things. And create doesn't necessarily mean just me, but I think it's projects that you and I have talked about before that we've wanted to do that we've not done, and just sort of because time gets in the way or this or that. It's recognizing those good ideas and not necessarily even following through to a product, but just the act of the doing, the creating. That's who I am. That's in my being. And I think that I haven't sort of given myself the go ahead to do that as much as I wanted to in the last couple of years. I mean, so I've had a couple moments this past year where really, really felt it when I was like, huh, surprise, and doing something, in kind of that creative vein that I didn't feel like I had done in a long time, and remembered what that felt like and was like, wow, I'm, that's good. I mean, I was sort of toying with this idea of the word joy too. But I think that create is kind of where I am.
I like that. I mean, I think I would say there's alignment in different words, but with my concept of that self is similar, or there's an aspect of it that's similar where I want to save that time to do those things too that, you know, I've said I wanted to do, we've said we wanted to do. And that's where, you know, if you don't block it out or save space for it, something else will fill that space. And then I've noticed, I mean, and I don't want to make this about me because I, you know, and take over your word, but like over 5 years of being in business, I've noticed what things have taken that space, and was it really a fruitful endeavor to say take that job or that project or this project or that project. And you know, it takes having to go through those 5 years, for me at least right now, to be conscious of that. But I'm really digging what you're, you know, I think it's a really interesting backup or follow up to the kintsugi. It doesn't mean that you can't use kintsugi again, you know, but create is kind of a way that sort of stems from, you know, what a kintsugi process is anyway. It is a creative act to rebuild or reconstruct. And so then now there's, you know, there's like the next level. So I'm hoping too that it's a strange, and I don't mean to sort of again sound like I'm doing my own therapy right now, but sometimes I don't really understand the stress that I build up by, you know, taking on so many things, and because it doesn't always feel stressful, but then I think other people can see it. And so again, uh, that's part of my, I guess, explanation or definition for this year. And on your behalf, right? You know, the creation thing. I definitely, I don't think you uh, ever need to feel like you lack the confidence, because all your creative work is very creative at a high level, and so just go for it, right? I think, you know, a part of that creativity is just, I almost, I was going to use, but it breaks the one word rule. I was I was gonna pick just do it. Take our sports Nike slogan,
Well, so,
and so I could
so
tell you now to just do it.
well, so yeah, you could just say just do it. I mean, there was I had seen um somebody had like, and this was years ago now, but somebody had posted this image. um I don't even know where it was or what the context was, but it is the one like 3-word phrase that has always sort of like stuck in my brain. Like whenever I'm like you sort of saying, just do it, you know, just let yourself do it. Go ahead. You're not lacking in, just do it. But the phrase was do epic shit.
Yeah, yeah,
And I was
I've
like,
heard that.
yeah, like that resonated with me on a level that it was irreverent and, you know, the thing. So yeah,
Yeah,
you can't do
yeah.
epic shit all year round, but you know, if you could, you know,
Well, what if you could? That'll be the thing.
what
So
if you could?
we have just do it and do epic shit as three word mantras for the
Yeah, that's like the like there's like there's the top line word and then there's the you know the
tagline.
byline underneath
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
The
there's the
header,
tagline. Yeah,
the H
it's like
one.
mission vision. Like
Yes.
like
Oh,
it's like a
we should.
vision statement and a mission
Uh,
statement.
I'll add that to the whiteboard. Oh well, what a year, huh? It it it's it's always fun. I did, you know, we've had a bit of a, like I said, a little bit of a lull. We missed our mark, and but now, yeah, I didn't, you know, we we got around to our New Year's resolution. I guess, what do you call it? Tradition, I suppose, in this case, because it's 8 years we've been doing this, and so I'll raise my mug one more time to here's to 8 more years.
Hell yeah.
So yes, well, welcome to season 8, episode 191. And welcome again, but we already did the welcome. But that's what.
Welcome to everybody, and thank you for joining us. And more good stuff.
See you next one.